when you are worried about everything else falling apart in your life. If you have just one thing taken care of, that's one less weight pressing on your shoulders. That's one less thing to stress about and keep you up at night. That's exactly what food stockpiling is. It's saying, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but as long as I'm alive, as long as God has kept me and I breathe, then I know that this section of my life is taken care of. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tato and I'm so glad that you have stopped by. Today's video is based on a comment I got on the channel, and this was from Lisa, and she just had one question. She was saying from the previous video I did, Tato, I want to start stockpiling, but I want to know, at what point do you stop? At what point do you say, I have enough, and therefore you stop? Especially when you have stockpiled all the necessary things that you and your household needs. That is such a good question, and it needs to be addressed. Why? Because food stockpiling is addictive. Let's just say and put it out there. Food stockpiling is addictive. Once you start and you open your cupboard and you see all these cans and these stacks of things in there, it has this thrill, it evokes this thrill, this joy in your heart, such that you keep on going. You just keep on going. But then we need to talk about when you need to stop, because if you keep going on that rate, eventually you're going to have a house overflowing with things, and people are going to say you are just hogging food. You're just hogging food. So when do you stop? When do you say, I have enough? I think the answer to this question is different for everybody. But I think the answer is rooted on why you started. If you start food stockpiling, you have to know your why. You have to know your why. Why did you start stockpiling? Because it's so different for everybody, I'm going to use me as an example, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doing it. I'm doing this so that you can use the same template. You go to your private place and you ask yourself these questions so that you can get to the point when you then know when you can stop. All right, let's get into it. What is my why? If somebody said, Tato, why are you doing it? Why are you stockpiling food? Well, it's to prepare for economic downturn. I stockpile food as a cushion against economic downturn. I break this into two categories. One is where I'm still employed and economic things change, economic variables change, right? And another one is where I end up getting unemployed. I'm going to explain why I'm splitting these into two. Let's take the scenario where I continue to have my job and economic factors change. It's currently happening. Currently, inflation is crazy high everywhere. Wherever you go in stores, prices shock people. People are always wondering, how is this price when just last week it was a different price that was lower? It's happening everywhere. There's the wars, and petrol prices, gas prices are going up day in and day out. We don't know when it's going to stop. As prices continue to go up, inflation keeps going up. At some point, the Reserve Bank is going to have to increase the interest rates, meaning that mortgages and mortgage-related costs are going to go up. I have been there before. 2022, 2023, I lived through that. I got into the market in 2022, bought this very house, and I suffered through 2022 and 2023. At its peak, my mortgage-related costs were taking 80% of my net salary. Day in and day out, I would be in bed fully awake 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't go to sleep because I just didn't know where I was going to get the little funds to make ends meet. But I survived because I had a stockpile of food in my cupboard. Yes, I was worried about everything else, but food was not a problem. We never went to bed hungry. So currently I'm doing it because I am seeing where things are going. And I'm saying I don't want to have the same sleepless nights I had in 2022 and 2023. I'm learning from experience. All right, that's one factor. But let's now go to unemployment. So I said that's a scenario where I'm continue to earn as I do, but economic things change. But then what if my economic status, my financial status changes? I lose my job. Again, very important thing to address because AI is here. Day in and day out, people are getting unemployed. But not only are they getting unemployed, they are staying unemployed because AI is taking jobs. The job market is no longer like it used to be. Job security is a myth. So the questions you need to ask is, if I was unemployed tomorrow, how much do I have to sustain me? And how long will that, whatever stash I have, how long will it sustain me for? People call that an emergency fund. Do you have an emergency fund? And how far can it take you? Personally, I don't have an emergency fund. Not because I don't want to. It's because I just don't have the extra to stash away towards an emergency fund. I have tried, but things keep happening and I keep on using it. So I truly and honestly don't have it. So if I was to get unemployed tomorrow, I would be worrying about my mortgage, the electricity, every single thing. But because of what I'm doing now, food will be taken care of for a while. If tomorrow it was me who was unemployed, I would be worrying about everything else but food that would last me for however long I have. That then gets us to this point: how much is enough? If you were to get unemployed tomorrow, how much food do you want in your cupboard? How much food do you want in your cupboard to sustain you for whatever period you're going to be unemployed? Remember, like I said, currently the job market is not like it used to be back in the days. Many people cannot tell how long they're gonna be unemployed for. So maybe the question should be, if you were unemployed tomorrow, how long do you want that food to sustain you for, regardless of how long it will take you to get a new job? Those are personal questions. But what I do know is the same across the board is this. When you are worried about everything else falling apart in your life, if you have just one thing taken care of, that's one less weight pressing on your shoulders. That's one less thing to stress about and keep you up at night. Imagine if you had a stash of money and you knew, if I didn't have anything, this part of my life is going to be taken care of. That's exactly what food stockpiling is. It's saying, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but as long as I'm alive, as long as God has kept me and I breathe, then I know that this section of my life is taken care of. So I know that I haven't answered this by giving a definitive number or stockpile volume. And I can't, because I'm also still working through these questions. I know why I'm doing it, but I still don't know to what extent would I want the food to carry us. Should it be a month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years. I still need to drill into these questions further in order to arrive at the answer. And when I do, I will definitely share it. But I want you guys to throw in your comments in the comment section. 1, why are you doing it? And 2, to you, what is enough? To you, when would you stop? But further, what do you think of the points I've given as to why or how we should approach this? Remember, people are doing it for different reasons. Some people are doing it because they're preparing for when things hit the fan. They are getting ammunitions. They are going about it in a different way. And that's their why. Let's not bash them. Let's respect their why because it works for them. If your why is different, that's okay. Stick to your why, focus on your why, and let others live according to their why. Let's not be imposing and demeaning of other people's journeys. Let's respect that and let's focus on why we are doing it until the point where we can answer the question that got us here. When is it enough? When are you going to stop on your food stockpiling journey? Guys, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure to go through this with you. Let me meet you guys in the comment section where we're going to converse, to learn, and who knows, we might have some very good points that lead us to our next video. Until then, catch you the next time. Be blessed.